Hi, my name is Shauna Clark, and I am going to be doing my oral presentation for Drama 15. I am doing my presentation on Radio Golf, and I am choosing the character development. Radio Golf is an inspiring play about an African American man trying to make his dream come true. His name is Harmon Wilkes. Harmon Wilkes wants to become the governor of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. At first, Harmon seems a little shallow, just like his wife is shallow and engulfed in his election campaign. Elder Joseph Barlow shows up at Harmon Wilkes' office looking for a lawyer one day because he's trying to get his house back. Not really so much as getting his house back, but trying to fix up his house. So Harmon is now, and not ever has he ever been, a lawyer. So he just wants to push the old man off. He doesn't really care about his problems or anything like that. So Barlow is not even about to listen to Harmon and keeps staying there. As the play moves on, Harmon tries to stay steadfast towards his campaign. Nothing will get in the way. His wife even thinks that he can become president someday. The more so Mr. Elder Joseph Bartlett keeps showing up, the further Harmon Wilkes' character starts developing more and more, becoming more and more soft. So Mr. Bartlett shows up at Harmon Wilkes' office and explains how the house that he wants to fix up is for his daughter, because his daughter is going to move back home. But Harmon owns the house, and Mr. Barlow doesn't own it anymore. And technically speaking, Harmon doesn't own the house either, because he kind of sold it to his other business. It's going to develop. But Harmon bought the house before it went to auction. Mr. Barlow never received a letter that the house was going up for auction. The reason that Mr. Barlow's house went up to auction was because Mr. Barlow didn't pay taxes on the house. The reason why Mr. Barlow didn't pay taxes on the house is because his mom never paid taxes on the house. And his mom didn't pay taxes on the house because they were always paid whenever she went to go check. And she never questioned it because her mother never had to pay taxes on the house. And so Harmon was very, very confused about all of this. It seemed a little far-fetched. But he was still staying focused on his campaign and his business. And he thought, well, okay, he'll look into the situation. So Harmon, being confused, he looks into the matter and finds a shocking discovery. Harmon's father had paid the taxes on the house for years while Harmon's father had passed away. And nobody knew this. His dad didn't say anything. Never once did he tell Harmon, hey, when I go, you're going to need to take care of this. So for years after Harmon's dad passed away, nobody paid taxes on the house because Harmon's family paid taxes on the house. His father paid taxes on the house because Harmon's grandfather paid the taxes on the house. And so all of this sounded very, very confusing to both Harmon and to Elder Joseph Barlow. So they went and they decided to find out who the great-grandmother was, his grandmother and Harmon's great-aunt. So they both write down the name of the the person, and it turns out that Harmon knew his dad's sister or something like that, and so, or his grandfather's sister's name. And so it turns out that they were both talking about the same person. So somewhere along the line, Mr. Harmon Wilkes and Mr. Elder Joseph Barlow are actually kin. And so in order for Harmon Wilkes' grandfather to take care of his sister, he paid the taxes on the house. And maybe his dad knew that that house was family and he needed to pay the taxes, or maybe he just did it because his dad did it. But nonetheless, he didn't say anything to Harmon that the taxes needed to be paid and that the house was family. So this takes Harmon by surprise. And he starts looking into things and apparently discovers that the house was sold illegally. I mean, the house was sold. It was sold to Harmon before it even went to auction. It went to auction. It was going to auction, and Mr. Barlow never even got a letter saying that it went to auction. So technically speaking, Mr. Barlow still owns the house. And Harmon is, at this point, he's willing to throw everything away and fight for what he knows was right. He becomes, he starts to work so hard for Mr. Barlow, and the process just destroyed his business because his business partner now wants to buy him out because he legally can. It destroys all his chances of becoming governor because now nobody wants to take him seriously. It almost destroyed his marriage because now his wife is like, I have done everything for you, and all I know is this election. I don't know anything else, and now you're throwing it away. I've made all these plans for you, and now all of a sudden. So in the beginning of everything, Harmon was a very shrewd businessman. And throughout the play, he started softening up and softening up and softening up. And by the end of the play, Harmon wasn't so shrewd anymore. He was really, really nice. He was willing to become an advocate and fight for what he knew was right, no matter the cost. He fought for Mr. Joseph Barlow's rights for his house, even though Harmon Wilkes' partner destroyed him and went ahead and had the house torn down, went behind his back even though he knew what was going on was wrong, even though Harmon probably had a clue that no matter what he was going to lose and he had no way of getting the house back for Joseph Barlow. But Harmon decided that it was better to fight than it was to just roll over and screw over the little guy, which is what he had been doing for years. So, to sum everything up, in the beginning, Harmon Wilkes was a very shrewd businessman, and he was willing to do whatever he could do at a cost to get ahead. And by the end of the play, he realized that the cost was too high, and taking advantage of people when they're down was not necessarily the right thing to do. And he became a very soft person. And so his character developed into a very, very different person than he was when the play began.